little bit leaner than maybe other triathletes do?
Well, recently, God, that was good.
You haven't hit puberty yet.
You can put that on repeat, TJ, if you want.
All right, we are back live today. I have a very special guest. He was a very talented middle distance runner, then switched to cycling, became a pro cyclist for quite a few years. And then he has now switched to triathlon, professional triathlon, in what can only be described as the biggest transition in sports since Caitlyn Jenner. I think that's what the headline has been. But Jimmy Whelan, welcome to Train Like a Monk.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to be on.
Yep.
I haven't heard someone describe my transition as in that way, so that's nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm doing triathlons this year.
Jimmy's also a content creator, so he actually helped set up the camera today because he's very experienced at this now, and I'm a bit rusty on it. Okay, first things first, where are we?
We're at an iconic coffee shop in Melbourne. What are we, in Richmond?
Richmond, yep.
Yeah. And yeah. Coffee shop number 3 for me for today.
Yeah, so you already, I think that's probably the first thing when you become a triathlete is you have to be in tri kit pretty much 24/7, right?
Yeah, you're wearing a lot of clothes. People say the 4th discipline of triathlon is washing clothes and hanging clothes.
Right. Yeah, my experience of triathletes, which is very limited, is in the Nice Ironman World Champs that week of the year. Well, when the Nice Ironman's on, it's just every supermarket full of people walking around in tri-suits. Do you actually have to walk into every shop in your tri-suit? Is that what happens when you sign the Pro Triathlete contract?
No, just a lot of triathletes don't have much finesse.
Okay.
So that's something that I'll try and bring to triathlon, a bit of that road cycling finesse to a sport that a lot of people look stupid in, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
We'll see how I go with that.
Yep.
Maybe I will be that guy walking around with 3 bags of shopping in my tri-suit, aero helmet on.
Yeah,
in a supermarket.
I don't think that'll take too long to transition to that. So speaking of transitions, you actually did your first triathlon on the weekend. How'd it go?
Yeah, so part of the transition to triathlon is actually doing one, and my first one was on Sunday. I did the local 2xU Summer Series Olympic distance race.
Yep.
1.5K swim, 40K bike, and 10K run. It was good.
Right.
I didn't take it too seriously. Like, I take things pretty competitively, so I want to strip that back and just enjoy it.
And what would you say, that was your very first triathlon ever, wasn't it?
First ever.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was the biggest surprise on race day? Was there anything that jumped out of the blue that you weren't expecting?
Well, I thought I was actually kind of efficient through the transitions, but turns out I lost 2 minutes.
Okay.
In total in transition. So
And a transition is something you actually train? Did you practice?
No.
Okay.
So
Do you think-
I'd be worried if I'd practiced and I lost 2 minutes.
Okay. So you're actually, the plan is to practice that going forward, or you're going to use these as just practice?
No. I didn't have elastic laces, for example, so I was in the transition tying my shoes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Your bike shoes too? Do you have lace-up bike shoes?
No, I'm using road shoes.
Okay.
I refuse to buy triathlon shoes. I think they look ridiculous.
Yeah, okay. That's fair enough.
But my biggest rookie mistake that I made was I wore a winter wetsuit in a hot summer bay swim. So, ahoy!
We've got an audience now.
There we go.
Exactly what we want.
Here we go.
Going to be joined. That's what we want. All right. Seeing as we've got a crowd here. Yeah.
Live stream?
Yeah.
Do you want to get into the photo?
Yeah.
Oh, right. We'll just ride past.
Yeah, just ride past a lot of times.
You should, go past.
What were we actually talking? Oh yeah, we were talking about your first race.
Yeah.
We're pretty much through that one now.
We've got an audience and now I can't talk properly.
Yeah. Well, this normally doesn't get.
Make an appearance.
This normally doesn't get any views. Yeah. So, first race is done. I guess. What's the plan now going forward? When's your next one?
Well, my theory is to do the practice one last Sunday, and then my next one will be Geelong 70.3.
Okay.
So pro race.
What's the main training focus now for the next period? Is, I guess, if anyone's followed Jimmy, he wasn't a swimmer whatsoever. Now you've been swimming a lot. Is that still the main focus now leading up to that, or are you trying to balance everything a little bit more now, or what's the plan?
I'm not going too heavy into swimming. I'm still doing a very balanced program,
Yeah.
which is probably not the right approach right now, but it's the approach that I'm enjoying.
Yeah. So if we're to talk like hours per week, how many hours in the pool, how many hours on the bike? How
Like
many hours
4 to 5 hours in the pool.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of people would say that I should be swimming like 8 to 9,
Yeah, okay.
but my swimming's improving quite a lot every week with a little bit of time,
Yeah.
but with the small amount that I'm doing.
And what's the theory behind doing less than what others would?
Not
Mental
a whole
health?
lot. Yeah, like I want to enjoy. I don't want to do 9 hours of swimming in the pool and then be tired and then not be able to run
Yep.
and then not be able to ride much. I don't know,
And then, so 4 to 5 in the pool riding, how many hours?
like 8 to 9.
Okay.
Not crazy, maybe 10 hours.
That's
I'm starting to ramp up the training a fair bit.
Way less than you would have been as a cyclist.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
And then running?
I'm doing 100k a week of running. That's,
So
if you look,
talking like,
that's like 7 hours.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
But-
So then, yeah, I guess total volume would be pretty similar to what you're doing as a cyclist then, around
Yeah.
20 to 25 a week.
Yeah, it's similar to like a medium training week on the bike.
Yeah.
But I would say that 7 hours of running is the equivalent of riding like 15
Yeah, okay.
in terms of actual stress.
Yeah, and the load on your body.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people would be critical of the swim volume that I'm doing at the moment, but I'm getting a lot faster every week.
Yeah.
And I actually swam pretty well on the weekend. I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, okay. And then I guess proportionally it kind of makes sense. Swim, ride, run, you're sitting around like what you would do. I guess the proportions for the hours you're devoting to each thing is similar to the
Yeah,
triathlon and stuff.
exactly.
Is that something that you're doing intentionally, or it's just like, is it by design, or
It's just the way it kind of works nicely with the way I'm training at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
But it also works well by the way like you're meant to train anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing as much ride volume as someone else would do for a 70.3 prep, just because of my riding legs are already quite good without the training.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not detraining the bike, but not stressing too much about my
Yeah,
bike
and I
performance.
guess like the thing is it's all transferable as well. Like you're still doing 20 to 25 hours a week of aerobic stuff.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
mostly aerobic. I guess that's probably the next question. Do you do much anaerobic stuff, like compared to what you were doing in the bike? We would have done VO2 max efforts at least once a week, normally 2 or 3 times a week. Are you doing much of that kind of stuff?
I'm doing a lot of VO2 and aerobic quality work running.
Yeah.
And then also in the swim, like 2 of the swims will be aggressive VO2 swims.
Okay.
And then the other 2
How
will
do you
be
measure that with a swim? Just by
with
pace?
sets. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I can work out when I'm going pretty hard. Like it's just basically lactate sessions, clearing lactate.
Yep.
Which for the first time in my life, like building lactate in my upper body is a really weird feeling.
Yeah.
My brain was not used to that at first.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't.
It's
know
really
that
strange.
feeling.
And like
Yeah.
getting out of the pool and like feeling like I have blood in my upper body is so weird.
Yeah, okay. And have you noticed any changes physically? Are you getting any bigger upper body?
My arms are getting bigger. No, but they actually are. If you compare,
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah, they couldn't get any smaller. To be fair, you could see through your arms at multiple points last year.
I had tiny arms, so
Yeah.
I used to almost be able to. That actually makes it realise. I used to almost be able to touch my fingers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've definitely, for the first time in my life, I used to have a massive gap in my shoulders to my, like in between my arms, but now I've got some lat muscle
Yeah. Okay.
that fills that void.
And what about body mass? Have you noticed much change there?
I think I put on like 2.5 kilos.
Okay. And is
And-
that intentional?
I'm just seeing what my body does.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's not any goal to really manage.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
Because that's one thing I know every single person I've spoken to, it's obviously the hot topic is Jimmy switching to triathlon, how's he going to go? And almost everyone is, he's too skinny, which is kind of weird because you'd think, okay, like running weight is even more important than cycling, arguably, because every single step you're fighting against gravity. So then there's this thing of, okay, why are triathletes always bigger when the swim leg is such a small component of the race, and obviously there's some more muscle mass required upper body wise for that compared to cycling or running alone. But is it something that you're trying to sort of change the game there a little bit on staying a little bit leaner than maybe other triathletes do?
If you look at the guys that are actually winning the big stuff at the moment, they're super lean.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some guys that have a little bit more muscle.
Yeah.
But for example, the guys that, like Martin Van Riel, he's 65 kilos.
Okay. At what height?
Like, he's a bit shorter than me, but
Yeah.
he's got a similar build to me.
Yep.
And like Yellow Geens, he's shorter than me, but he's like 60 kilos.
Yeah.
So actually, yeah, like typically you would think of an Ironman being like a big rig,
Yeah.
which is kind of like what everyone thinks. But
Yeah.
if you look at the guys winning stuff at the moment, it's actually guys that are quite lean and quite
So
small.
you think it's probably changing then?
It's changing,
Yeah, okay.
for sure.
Yep.
So I'm still quite weight conscious with the sport because, as you said, if you want to be in a winning condition to apply the run that you want to apply, in
Yeah.
my case, like I need to be lean.
Yeah, and it'll probably be frustrating, I guess, as you start to swim better, and if you put on a bit of upper body mass, your run's just naturally going to drop off just because it's so weight dependent.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's all going to pan out. I mean, maybe I need to put on another 2 kilos,
Yeah.
but I'm just eating normal,
Yeah.
not doing anything.
No, I think that's good for people to hear because I guess the training always has to come first, and then like being strong is more important always. Like there's no point being light if you're not able to train well and then not able to perform well because of that. So
And if I tried to like get light doing the training that I'm doing right now, I would be like flirting with chronic fatigue and burnout.
Yeah,
Like,
and I guess
I'd be a grumpy bastard.
one of the impressive things is so far that you haven't had any injuries.
Yeah, a lot of people have been waiting for my Strava graph just to go.
Yeah.
I've done 10 weeks of 100k a week,
Yeah.
which for the average cyclist, if they were told to do that, then
Yeah, and I guess probably the thing there is you're not the average cyclist because you were running a bit last year as well.
yeah, I was running all the way through the last few years. So.
Yeah.
And also the shoe tech. I understand the shoe technology these days.
Yeah. Are you doing anything like specifically injury prevention wise, or it's just purely just fueling your body well and making sure that you're not putting yourself under too much stress?
Yeah, fueling properly.
Yeah.
I don't get on the piss like a lot of athletes do at this time of year, and I think that really helps with not getting injured
Yeah. Okay.
or getting sick.
Yeah.
Like when I used to get injured or sick, it always seemed to correlate to a time when I was enjoying myself on nights out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm a bit older now, so maybe I'm just boring. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not doing any specific. Like I find with the running, it's a lot of work. But if I do 2 hard swims and then 2 other swims that are kind of aerobic and are almost like a massage for the legs,
Yeah. Okay.
the swimming is a bit of a game changer.
Yeah.
With in for recovery.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you just go in, you do like 40 minutes in the pool, you come out actually feeling recharged,
yeah.
which is kind of a strange feeling because you've done exercise, but you actually feel better than when you went in.
Yeah. No, that's I guess it's a good little thing to have on there as well. And then the benefit with doing less of any single discipline is there's less chance, I guess, like if you were only running, there'd be that temptation to always push the volume higher and higher with the running, whereas now you can just still get that volume from the other things.
But like if I was to go into pro running next week, now that I've done some swimming, I would at a minimum swim once a week.
Okay.
Now
that's interesting.
Now that I understand how my body reacts to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, usual round of questions time. What is your favourite training session?
In Australia, it's kind of like the Australian cycling method. There's just classic sessions. Like in cycling, you have 5 by 5 minutes. In Australia, you have 8 by 1K off 60 seconds rest.
Okay.
That's like a classic that you see a lot of guys
I always see. Why do runners do their intervals to kilometres? Is it just...
It's just more satisfying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or just when you hear the watch beep, then you know it's done.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know. It's really nice doing an effort to Ks.
Okay.
Like imagine on the bike, you would say, I'm going to do 4 times 8K today. It's so strange.
Yeah, it is. That's why I can't understand why runners do it. I guess most of the time you're doing those kind of efforts on pretty flat terrain there. So it's going to be similar time
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a scientist, it actually makes more sense to do it off time
Yep.
because that's like, more
Constant.
appropriate to load or
Yeah.
whatever, and easier to quantify. But yeah, 8x K is probably my favorite. It's been really interesting. Like, first started properly doing running sessions in October, and now we're in January, and my K reps are about 25 seconds faster per K.
Yeah, wow. And what, so you just like trying to do the max across those 8 intervals?
Yeah, you
like
just
keep it steady across all of them?
Yeah. You just try and hit this like sweet spot where if you went 3 or 4 seconds per K faster, you blow up.
Yeah,
But if you just sit below it, then
Yeah.
but yeah, it can be tricky with all the training I'm doing. Like sometimes you rock up to this session and you're actually pretty tired.
Yeah.
And you just don't know how your body's going to react. Sometimes I feel super tired and I get the session done really easily.
Yeah.
It's the same in cycling. Sometimes you do the first effort and you're like, you feel terrible. But then by the third effort, you actually feel better.
Yeah. And then what would be your least favorite session
In running.
in
Just
any
right now.
yeah, right now, like when you have to, what's your training day or session that you just think I don't want to do
Just
this?
doing a hard swim.
Okay.
Really like
Actually committing to swimming fast and then
something that's weird in swimming that I haven't experienced in sport is like you do say 10 100s off 130s. So
Okay.
you do 100 meters off 130. So if you do it in 1 minute 25 seconds, then you have 5 seconds rest.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So the rest is really small in swimming.
Yeah.
Like imagine you did that on a bike.
Yeah, you wouldn't take.
You do like 10 1 minuters and you have 4 seconds in between. That's what a swimming training is.
Yeah.
So I find that quite mentally taxing.
Yeah, okay.
Just getting to the wall, looking up, and then being like 3, 2, 1, and then you're straight back into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, that doesn't sound like
that's
fun. I
taken-
can see why that's your
yeah.
least favourite. What would be your favourite training loop? Maybe running, maybe riding.
Here in Melbourne,
Or can be anywhere in the world.
here in Melbourne, my favourite loop is just to ride the Q Boulevard.
Okay. Just reps.
Yeah.
That's my training plan today, by the way, while we're here.
Yeah, and then my favourite, I'm basing my season in Barcelona. My
Yep.
favourite run is just down along the beach. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I'd say there as well, pretty much any other running loop, you're just stuck with traffic lights.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But
What
I
a J running.
jaywalk.
What yeah. Jimmy
So does
Jimmy
everyone else in
walking.
the city. So it's
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. All right. When you have efforts, and this might, I don't know if this has changed since you've changed to triathlon. Do you do the efforts at the start of the session or at the end, or space them out?
It's pretty rare to have like in a ride. If I have a longer ride, it's just a longer ride.
Yeah.
If I have efforts, like maybe I have only a 3-hour ride or 2.5 hours, so you just go to a climb to the efforts ride back.
Yeah. So there's not
It's
much
pretty
time
efficient.
stuff around
Yeah,
anyway.
there's not much fluff.
Yeah.
I don't need to do fatigue resistance training, so I don't need to like do 5 by 5 minutes after
Yeah, okay.
4,000 kJs. You know.
Yeah, because so the goal time for you for a 70.3 triathlon, how long is the event going to be?
Hopefully, well under sub 4 hours. I mean, the thing that comes relevant is like I do work on the bike, and then I go do a run session.
Yeah.
So my session is actually in the run
Pre-fatigued.
after the ride.
Yeah, that's interesting. So,
that's-
I guess you're getting that kind of
kind
fatigue
of is,
resistance
yeah,
there.
it's kind of
from
similar principle.
that. Yeah,
Like the biggest thing is learning to run on tired legs,
yeah.
which is not easy on the head.
Yeah, in my extensive running career of my one marathon, I was honestly doing the same thing because I just didn't want to get injured. I'd just go for a ride and then just finish with a quick run.
Have you talked about this on the podcast?
No. So
You should tell people. This is quite impressive.
I spoke the last episode that I recorded was probably before it, but did a marathon in December, Hora Marathon, one of the 8 majors, I think.
Yeah. I heard they put in an application to be a world major next year.
No, very, very good, well-run marathon for charity, but that ended up, I think it was 2:47. So, and then that's finished my running career. But I was pretty broken after it. My tactic was to just avoid doing too much running training because everyone seems to get injured, and I wasn't like you and ran that much during the year. So I was just doing the rides, like go out and do 3 or 4 hours maybe with some efforts or just solid riding, and then finish with a run for an hour or something like that fast, just so the legs were already fatigued, having to run with cooked legs without having that impact for so many hours. But yeah, I can see how that would be useful in triathlon as well, because then you're getting that fatigued state without such a load on your joints.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Do you actually have a coach for triathlon at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay. So when are you like setting the plan with them, or are they setting the plan and prescribing that to you like directly, and you're just following along blindly, or how's the relationship work there?
Yeah. So at the moment, for like when I first started, which was I had my off season in October.
Yep.
So I had months just to do whatever I wanted, and then I had 7 weeks of training in Barcelona on a strict program where I didn't question anything. But since I've come back to Oz, I've been kind of being busy with life stuff, like wanting to catch up with people.
Yeah.
Like using exercise as a way to catch up with people.
Yeah.
So I've actually had to put the high performance coaching kind of to the side, which I think is important in my
Well,
case.
I find the same. Even with the people I'm coaching, I like to just give them some unstructured stuff and just say this, because especially late December, early January in Australia, you almost don't need a training program because people are going to end up doing heaps of volume, some intensity, just racing against their mates on training rides, that kind of stuff. Often people are just flying after that and mentally fresh as.
Exactly.
Like it's so much easier to do that than to actually focus on trying to get a program done throughout that period, and then being mentally fried and having to say no to your mates the whole time, and then you actually start the real training from like then you're like behind physically and mentally from where you would be if you sort of just had that unstructured period where you just go out, enjoy catching up with people and doing a bit of intensity here and there as well.
It's really important to come out of January mentally fresh, because if you're coming, like in my case, if I'm coming out of January and I've already squeezed it a bit too much, and I go over to Europe and it's cold weather, and then I'm training by myself, it's like good luck doing that for another 10 months.
Yeah. I think I honestly don't know how the Euros manage it. Like, I guess they're all going to training camps in Spain, but I always just think where it's such an advantage here because you just get such a mental reset, but a big physical boost. Like for me personally, this time of year, I wasn't planning on like being fit at this time of year because I don't have any racing properly until March, but then just naturally doing some bunch rides, doing training because there's someone training every day that hits you up for a ride, and then middle of January like actually hitting decent numbers just out of nowhere, and it feels like I haven't even touched the lap button or done any proper training. So
the best I ever went at nationals was when I just fluffed around.
Yeah, you didn't even have a power meter, right?
Yeah.
No power meter, no heart rate monitor.
Yeah, just rode hard here and there, did some crits. I mean, okay, my raw threshold climbing power wouldn't have been great, but you don't need that for nationals. But yeah.
Yep. Interesting. And then, okay, so training now, I guess we just touched on it there, but are you doing many of your sessions like with groups, or is it all solo stuff?
I'm doing a lot of my run structure is kind of structuring my whole week at the moment, and then I put the riding around my running, and then I put my swimming in where possible.
Yeah.
So I'm doing group sessions with the running.
Yeah. So how's a group running session work? Like, because there's obviously, it's not like cycling where it's handy having a group because you've just got people to draft off and chat to. Like, what's the advantage to having a group running session?
It's just easier to train with other people. Like if you go to
mentally?
like if you go to a track session and you're by yourself, or you do a track session and you're with 6 other guys, it's actually quite fun.
Yeah, okay.
And, it's like,
and does that mean everyone's doing the same session when you're doing it?
Yeah.
And is there that race element there, or everyone sticks to their...
Everyone's like, okay, we're running these splits. That's the splits we need to hit.
Yeah.
And then everyone respects that.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's at least in the group that I was doing. I mean, I've been doing a lot of my sessions solo. In Barcelona, I did almost everything solo.
Yeah.
The only time I had company was when there was a cameraman following me, because I'm a content nomad. People sometimes, if I was doing these sessions and I'm flying along La Barceloneta and there's a cameraman following me, people will think I'm some like pro runner, but I'm just a washed up bike rider.
You're a pro triathlete now, or influencer.
I wouldn't even call myself a pro triathlete. I need to have a good result before I can call myself that.
Yeah, third in a 2XU. That's pro. Okay, so when you're training solo, do you listen to music or podcast? Or are you just listening to your YouTube? You're on YouTube on repeat.
I just listen to my own podcast. Yeah. I always have to have headphones.
Okay.
It's pretty rare when I can do 3 hours just listening to the birds
Just
and
raw dog it.
myself.
Yeah.
To the point that I'll actually bring two AirPod cases in case one dies. So that's what we're working with.
That's
House
commitment.
music or like some pretty heavy house music,
Okay.
or just podcasts.
Yeah.
So if I'm bike riding, I listen to running podcasts, and if I'm running, I listen to cycling podcasts.
What's the rationale there?
It's information overload. If I'm
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't gotten into the swimming podcast yet.
Yeah.
I'm not quite passionate about it enough.
Can't imagine they're exciting ones. I don't
Yeah.
think I'll be getting into those.
Yeah.
All right. Normally I say, would you, if it's raining outside, would you jump on the trainer or ride in the rain? I guess treadmill is also relevant here. What's your go-to when it's raining? In Barcelona, you actually did have a fair bit of rain recently, I think.
Yeah, I would. What would I do? I mean, the beauty about triathlon is that you can just go for a swim in that indoor
okay.
pool. You can
Or in
change-
the
you
streets
can
in
change-
Barcelona.
Yeah. There was some pretty bad flooding in Barcelona at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like if it's raining outside and I have a ride to do, I'll ride outside. It has to be pretty bad weather. Like there's never been a moment where I've thought, gee, I wish I did 3 hours on the ergo and got home
Yeah.
covered. It's always better.
Yeah.
If it's raining, I like to do climbs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that? Just stay warmer or?
Yeah, I don't know. It just makes the time go faster.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, when you are training, I guess now, like I would usually say stops or no stops. Running, it's just like a sin to ever stop on a run, like, and also impossible to get going again. And then I guess riding, you're probably not doing that many real long rides where you need to have a stop during.
No. Although I say that.
Yeah,
I've done 3 hours of riding this morning. It's now 1 p.m. and I left at 6.
So
today's an exception.
You still got to run to go.
Yeah,
well,
but like to be fair, with my riding training at the moment, I do a lot of it solo, and I'm riding pretty firm.
Yeah,
So a lot like just riding around at 270,
yeah,
and that's what keeps my form. If I start to, because I'm not riding a lot, when I am riding, I need to make sure I'm doing
yeah.
some
That's
good
the
stuff.
thing. Like, as a cyclist, like at 10 of our 20 to 25 hours a week, you're just like zone one, just tapping. Like whether it's just part of an endurance ride or on the Rico rides or whatever. Whereas I guess you've just cut out all of that because you're busy doing other sports in that time.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Favorite training food?
Training food. Like specifically high performance, I really like the chews.
Yeah.
So I don't like gels that much.
Yeah.
So at nationals, I'd always have the chewy bars that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
basically like solid gels,
Yeah. Basically just high performance lollies.
like a fruit chew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
then I guess what's your go-to before a training session? Like breakfast first thing.
Running
You need
is-
to be well fueled.
Running's tricky because you don't want to be on a full stomach.
Yeah.
Like when you're cycling, you can have 200 grams of carbs for breakfast and not really notice when you get on the bike.
Probably have a burrito for breakfast and you'd be okay.
Yeah. Whereas in running, you almost need to have breakfast the night before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I noticed the same. Do you do much just run straight out the door or you always just have a little
I'll
bite
always
to eat?
have like a small piece of toast
Yeah, okay.
with jam and salt. Yeah, that's my go-to.
Salt.
Yeah.
Jam and salt. Yeah,
Jam,
okay.
salt, butter.
Yeah, okay.
Just something to clog the arteries.
Yeah, there's your health advice.
You need an excuse for every failed session, and your buttery, salted, toasted toast can
Yeah,
be
okay.
the excuse.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know where our coffees are.
Yeah, we ordered coffees at the start of this podcast. So.
30 minutes and 10 seconds in.
Yeah.
I think I paid for it.
Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, that's...
It's because I haven't paid for it. Should we order it?
Yeah, may as well. Oh yeah, and then what would be go-to post-session? I guess a lot of the time post-session you're looking for what your next session is going to be.
Post-session, yeah. It all... Like, the amount of training I'm doing, you're just playing catch-up with calories.
Yeah.
I really noticed the amount of training that I'm doing. You really actually have to dial in the nutrition even more than what I was on the bike.
Yeah, okay.
So otherwise, you just find yourself like constantly inflamed from all the training, and then if you eat the wrong foods, then it's just a pretty bad
Yeah, so,
process.
and I guess part of that's probably because you're always preparing for the next session and there's not as much time to recover. If
Yeah.
you got those double days and that kind of stuff.
Or triple days.
Yeah. Tricky one, I guess, because usually a few of your disciplines end up being the answer to this question, but cross training. Do you have any cross training outside of the swimming, running, riding?
Do saunas count? I mean,
No,
that's
not quite, but
something that I still do like 4 times a week.
yeah,
So with my swimming, when I do one of these hard swim sets that I don't enjoy doing,
yeah,
I then
Your
treat
reward
myself
is
with the
this-
sauna.
yeah. That's a good idea.
So the swimming is my vegetables and the sauna is the dessert.
Yeah.
Is one way to put it.
Oh, and it's probably good because then core body temps are already elevated from having to work pretty hard in the pool.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't get up anywhere near as much as running or riding, but
It definitely does.
it does. You still
If
get.
you're in a warm pool,
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah,
for-
a warm pool for sure.
you really do actually overheat.
Yeah. Okay.
So my biggest mistake that I made in my first triathlon was I wore a winter wetsuit. A wetsuit that's made for Norway.
yeah.
And I wore it in a Melbourne summer day swim.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I actually fully cooked myself on Sunday.
Yeah. Okay.
So like it would have been interesting to wear my core temp sensor
yeah.
because I came out of the swim feeling really strange. I didn't understand why. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the race, I realized why.
Yeah. Okay.
It actually
yeah.
meant that I couldn't go hard on the bike or
Yeah.
in the run. So that's why I did like 300 watts for 50 minutes and only 330s in the run.
Yeah. Okay. Then.
So I'd
makes
fried
sense.
myself in the swim.
Probably good to learn that then. That you
Good
don't
to
need
good to learn
Norway
that
wetsuit.
instead of doing that in my first half Ironman where I'm
Yeah,
going
oh,
to
yeah,
talk
that wouldn't be fun.
talk a big game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go to the rapid fire round. So just, it's would you rather, one or the other. And then... Aero or lightweight?
Lightweight.
Jesus, that's interesting as a triathlete. Disc or rim brake?
Rim brake. You can't say you can't say lightweight and then
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
take a
that's a
system.
good point. Tubeless or clincher tire?
clincher.
Do you actually run clinchers on your race bike?
I don't believe in tubeless.
Okay. Yeah.
So every time I did, so I found every excuse I could find to run clincher or like non-tubeless I did.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
That's why I never won nationals.
Saddlebag or frame bag or handlebar bag?
Saddlebag.
Yep.
I don't believe like some guys spent 2 years in aerodynamic engineering to have this bike aerodynamic, and then people put a sausage in front of it.
Yeah, that does crack me.
Yeah.
Socks over or under leg warmers?
Under.
Okay, it's successful as a triathlete.
Yeah.
Gloves or no gloves?
How cold is it?
What's your point at which you put gloves on? What's your temperature?
Well, if I'm racing, I always wear race gloves.
yeah, okay. Even in a triathlon, you're probably not going to wear gloves. That was why your transition was so slow. You put in the Q36.5 aero
Yeah,
gloves
exactly,
on
but-
and spent 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. No, I actually prefer. I prefer not to wear gloves. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Heat or altitude training?
Heat.
Are you going to do any altitude stuff preparing
Yes.
for triathlons?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll do 3 blocks in Font-Romeu in France,
Okay.
which is also sits in the sun all day in the summer, so you actually get heat and altitude.
Yeah.
So I'll be super cooked by the time I get to race day.
Completely fried.
Yeah.
Town sign sprints or come hunting?
Come hunting.
Have you won a town sign sprint in your career?
My 900 watt bonnet doesn't get me any town sign sprints.
Early morning or pro hours? I guess this is a tricky one now.
I actually love getting an early morning exercise in these days because it means that I'm not exercising until 5 p.m. So
Yeah, I guess you got to start earlier. It's a late finish.
yeah, it's quite nice. I think seeing the sunrise once a week is good for my head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Rico day or day off? Do you have any of those?
Mondays and Fridays are my easy days,
Yeah.
and I always say I can do what I want on those days, and I always find myself riding at least an hour and a half.
Okay, so standard is an easy ride.
And my favourite ride was always to the cafe.
Yeah.
So particularly when I'm in Australia.
Yeah, here, I guess it's perfect time to meet up with someone.
Yeah.
Pasta or rice?
Rice.
Yeah.
I'm known for my for my rice.
Yeah.
I became a little bit famous at the team camp last year when I was rocking white rice.
Well, I think it's now just standard though. You're probably ahead of the curve.
Started a trend.
Like Plappy's on the previous episode, and he said, he's just doing rice and eggs every breakfast. So there you go.
Yeah, trendsetter.
Sweet or savoury?
Savoury. Yeah.
Would you prefer to ride with a half wheeler or a wheel sucker?
Half wheeler.
So you can half wheel them back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Squeaky disc brake or creaky bottom bracket? Which would you rather?
BB. Bottom bracket.
Yeah, okay.
The AirPods can't cancel out the disc brake
that's what I was
noise.
thinking. If you can have the music up loud enough that you can't hear the bottom bracket.
Yeah.
Would you prefer to be completely hunger flat or severely dehydrated?
The hunger flat.
Okay.
You can fix that in an hour. But if you get really dehydrated, you're feeling that for
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Funny story on this one. One of Jimmy's first rides, went out the back of King Lake here from Melbourne. Well, Healesville first, then back up out the back of King Lake. Probably ended up being like a 6-hour day, but it was one of Jimmy's first long rides ever, I think. And just completely underestimated fueling. And we completely bonked up the backside of King Lake, like gone, dropped by 20 minutes, and we're waiting at King Lake for him, like, what's going on? We had to turn back around and go and find him. And he was so worried. He was like, I can't see where I'm riding.
I bought these jam donuts on the top of the servo.
No, well, then I think Benny bought Jimmy a jam donut and threw it at him, and it hit him in the chest, and he took about 10 seconds to react before he realised, and then tried to catch it after it had hit him in the chest. And then I think on the way home, just after I turned off in Doncaster, you stopped and got a meat pie and said you're all good after that.
Yeah.
It's probably the last meat pie you had as well.
If someone asked me what was the hardest 2 hours I've had on the bike, it was probably during that time on a hunger fighter. Because one, I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, you were so worried that you couldn't see.
I didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to be that guy holding up the group because I was pretty fit.
Yeah. And you were probably the one pushing everyone on the first half
early
of the
on,
ride.
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I remember that.
That was a very good day. All right, very last question. What is your best piece of training advice? And we'll just get that one's there.
Yeah, thanks.
Beautiful, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Best piece of training advice is don't overcomplicate it.
Okay. That's very interesting. I wouldn't have thought that's something that you would say, because you tend to be...
Sometimes I think people would think that I'm really into the numbers, riding a zone, having these sessions, doing all this. I'm actually not, I'm not about that at all.
Yeah, and I think, it's something I remember you saying when we were living together for a while in Girona, even on the nutrition side of things, because at the time, it was probably peak when every cyclist was doing weird stuff with their food, and you'd just come in from running, and all the cyclists were going crazy to put on weight at certain times, lose it all at other times, all this kind of stuff. Didn't tell you to do that, but all the cyclists were just doing this weird stuff. Pretty much everyone in Girona was doing these 5-hour rides, fasted, low carb stuff, and you were I don't know why cyclists are all doing weird stuff with their food. Runners have it dialed, they just eat normal good food and then go and train, and they're all skinny as. Why are cyclists doing all this crazy stuff? And I remember sort of just thinking, okay, that makes sense. And so there is some complexities there, but I guess if you just keep everything pretty simple, just do the right things, then you get results from it.
Having said that, I fell victim to the cycling lifestyle, and I would have been making you would remember this, a shaved zucchini omelette with egg whites after a 5-hour ride.
Yeah.
And putting cheese on it and thinking, oh, that's a lot of cheese.
And your breakfast before that was cauliflower rice porridge.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're working with.
The apartment used to stink so bad because you'd be there shaving your cauliflower. And then there'd just be a bucket of shaved cauliflower ready for porridge in the fridge, and it smelled so bad. And then Rico Days, your breakfast was a one cherry tomato. I remember.
Yeah,
I just remember you opening the fridge and going, fuck, I'm hungry. And just seeing a cherry tomato and
I used to
that'd do
snack
it.
off cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
So yeah, whilst I would say, I just don't know why everyone doesn't follow the runners, I was still doing some stupid stuff.
But yeah, I guess now with triathlon, as much as it's complex trying to balance everything, if you're just keeping it simple, it makes it a lot easier, just making sure that you're showing up each day, putting the training in, eating the right things, and then good things will come from that.
Yeah. But yeah, really not overcomplicating it's really important. Like, okay, you have like basic structure and intensities to meet, but like don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you can put together a 8-week block that's amazing and then you get burnt out and then you don't do the sport for 3 months. Or you can put a year together really easily
Yeah.
and actually get better that way.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good advice. Well, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we haven't switched too many cyclists to the dark side after listening to that and going across to triathlon. Make sure you give Jimmy's YouTube a follow. It's kicking off over there. You can watch his running technique. I've had so many people come up and tell me how good Jimmy looks at running, and no one said that about my run. So,
Well, you still run fast.
the run was fast. It didn't look very good. It was very very short legs. And not a pretty good running economy, I think, but
You must be efficient.
I think efficient because definitely not a lot of talent there. But yeah, head across to Jimmy's YouTube. You can check him out on Instagram as well. See all your triathlete stuff. Get your hit of that. Learn from him if you want to make the switch across, or if you want to dabble in any swimming and running. All right, thanks for listening. Stay tuned for the next one. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. I hope that recorded.